June 2022 Soul Story. This is Romy. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you have a sun rising or your moon is in the sign, this is a reading for you. We'll give you some astrological dates and some intuitive messages to empower you as you move through the next few weeks. So Gemini season, of course, is illuminating that 7th house of relationships for you. In the beginning of June, we're also going to be welcoming a full moon in your sign on the 14th of the month. Now, we're opening up with the energy of the King of Swords. And what we think, what meaning we are attaching to what is playing out around us, and really the importance of the conversations that are taking place is being highlighted here. We cannot leave people second guessing what it is that you want. Your peace is going to flourish when you're super clear, Sagittarius, about what your needs and wants are and what your boundaries are going to be. Telling people how you feel is going to almost release like the stalemate energy, I feel, that might have built up or developed in some of the connections that we have going on with you. Now, I want to remind you, I think this King of Swords is really bringing quite a clear message that it's very easy for all of us to slip into situations where we're really using confirmation bias to prove our own theories about the people in our life. So where you are repeatedly expecting people to fail, or you are expecting people to act in a certain way, regardless of actually how they're showing up or what it is that they're doing, you are only looking for that one thing that is going to give you the evidence to validate what it is that you've been thinking or feeling. And there's just this witnessing and requirement to be observant and discerning that the King of Swords is really wanting to kind of call you up on, because this is about your own growth. And if you just think for a moment, like how much you personally have changed in the last 6 months, even in the last year, it's probably beyond all recognition within yourself. Not everybody around you may see that, but you know what you've been through. You know how many skins you've shed, how much transformation has taken place. So if that is true for you, then it's true for the people in your life as well. So in what ways can we start to catch ourselves where we're moving into that state of confirmation bias? In what ways can we catch ourselves to say, can I actually allow a little bit more grace right now to actually see if this person is able to demonstrate a shift or a change in their energy, and rather than almost like sitting and waiting for the evidence of it, can I find a sense of neutrality and acceptance when I've been clear and open of exactly what I need, where I stand, what my position is on something, and then almost withdraw and allow myself to detach from the outcome. And I honestly feel if you can take that as a kind of directive for how to move through the month of June, it's going to go a long way to helping you to sort of maintain that sense of equilibrium and balance within yourself. Now, we have an overall theme this month of balancing hearts and minds, and even though Mercury is going to be shifting direct, on the 4th of the month, Saturn is going retrograde in Aquarius. And at the end of the month on the 28th, we'll also see Neptune going retrograde. So that means we're going to be revisiting some commitments. We're going to be revisiting boundaries. We're going to be thinking about our longer term visions. But in Gemini season, having to make short-term tactical choices about how we're best going to be able to support ourselves in the interim. And then, of course, we have that stripping away of the illusions when Neptune goes retrograde, and here's your Ace of Swords like cutting right through. Now, it can feel sometimes a little bit harsh, like the cold light of day, like you truly get to see how somebody feels about you, or you truly get to see what's actually going on in a particular dynamic and situation. But sometimes that information is power, and I honestly feel like there's a cathartic quality to this that actually is really about helping set you free. I have a sense actually around that full moon as we build to it on the 14th that you're going to draw a line somewhere, and that you're probably going to stop doing something, and maybe permanently, but that there'll just be like a heart-led decision that will also come from a basis of sort of evidence and you just knowing what's going to be good for you, what's going to be right for you. And I think that's going to be very important. Now, in 7th house, your network is expanding. And as we move into the mid part of the month on the 10th, Mercury is going to trine Pluto, Mercury in Taurus, Pluto in in Capricorn, so earth energy. And then we have the next day, Venus conjunct Uranus. Again, Venus in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus. So this earth energy gathering around the 10th and 11th can really root and bring some real tangible results to things. There may be some unexpected surprises and advancements by way of love, or anything that's going on in terms of your abundant sources of income. But the conversations that are going to take place during that time feel super clarifying and really, really progressive. So keep an eye out around that time. And it's definitely, if you need to be communicating or having important conversations where you really need to feel that they're going to be rooted in something that is worthwhile, that's definitely the time to do it. Okay, we've got all the sword energy coming out for the start of your reading here. The Prince of Swords is now showing up, and you know, all of these swords are telling me there's some serious truth and clarification that's coming for you. Now, you know, the work that we do, the inner work, the soul work, it's tough. It takes us right to the edge, and the way that we speak to ourselves and how we start to observe the stories that our ego mind wants to kind of keep on repeat, and really sort of keep gathering evidence of all of the things that have taken place in the past, and that's the reason we can't trust it, and that's the reason it's going to happen this way again and again. And so doing that work isn't easy. But honestly, like the repetition of sort of moving back into the old patterns at this point, when you've come so far and you've already grown so much, and that is no longer really resonant with a version of who you are now, that's soul destroying. So, you know, given the choice here, we kind of have to press on, we have to keep going, and we have to be really honest with ourselves at this moment. Now, I also think with the Page of Swords, again, there's like a flurry of communication, perhaps some things that have been held back during that retrograde or that got a bit lost in translation. All of a sudden, we are revisiting with more of a sense of determination and focus and clarity. I feel like it's going to be a fantastic time for those of you that are trying to get your point across in some way. And I want you to be challenging anything that tries to break your resolve, anything that tries to move you away from those things that you're trying to manifest, your desires and intentions, using the statement, like, what if this were true? So the things that you want the most, and then you find yourself having the doubt or the wobble, or, you know, getting a disappointment or a setback. But, you know, if this is something that I have been able to, in my mind, create, to visualize, to bring to life, this is what I'm working towards, this is what I want to become, this is the life that I'm aspiring to, you know, what if it were true? So allow yourself to sink into that positive energy. There is a merry-go-round playing out that is trying to throw us all the way back into that, you know, upheavaled fear, high anxiety. The world is doomed. Like, it's just at this point in time, like something that your nervous system does not have to accept and you do not have to align with. So let's not use the confirmation bias in that way. That's not going to be where we need to be operating. Now, this month, as your network expands, there's all sorts of people that are going to be showing up, and the more you can reach out and connect to your network, the more you're going to have the right types of energy coming in to be really helping facilitate the directions that you need to be moving towards, or where you're wanting to try and see some growth. So, you know, if you're single and you want to meet somebody, or, you know, if you're looking for a new job, if you're trying to get help and support and, you know, bring people in to be working with you, or you need help around the home, like, this is an amazing month to be able to kind of really have some doors opening. And one of those sort of flippant conversations with somebody that says, oh, I might know somebody, and then all of a sudden, like, these, you know, initial kind of introductions lead to something that's like really tangible, and really we're going to be supportive for you in terms of what it is that you're trying to achieve. So just be open to the idea of this, okay? So we have Mercury also shifting into Gemini on the 13th of the month, and again, all of these sword energies working with the element of air is going to be super important for you. Now, Gemini is a fellow mutable sign, which means that there is a changeability about the things that are happening through the course of this month. I need to say to you, because I think it's going to be important, that there are going to be moments this month where you need to just sort of mind your own business. And the reason that's important is that not getting involved or not feeling like you need to know what someone else is up to or you need to understand all of the details is going to make sure that you are less triggered, because everybody's being triggered to a really high degree at the moment. And so, you know, removing yourself from situations where you're less likely to hear things through gossip or through that word of mouth that feels uncomfortable for you or puts you in a place of comparison is also giving you the opportunity to be more focused on you and more disciplined with how you're conserving and using your energy. And again, I think that's really important because you have something to say this month. And I think it would be really easy to get distracted or to be pulled off in somebody else's narrative, somebody else's storyline or drama. And it ends up being sort of something that I feel like you almost take it on as your own. It's like you take on somebody else's fight, but there's no outcome for it that serves you. You know, it just doesn't even feel like there will be an outcome. So you could end up getting caught up in something that just goes round and round in circles. So just be super aware of where that might be sort of playing out for you. So this full moon coming in your sign on the 14th of the month, beautiful fire energy. And remember, we also have Jupiter now in Aries and Mars in Aries. So all of this heart and passion and motivation and intentionality is really serving you. So we've got the energy of the Hierophant coming in. And I think this is about what you are going to decide to commit to this month. Who or what are you committing to? I think it's going to take more than you'd expected, so be prepared for that, okay? There might be a desire to sort of jump into something, a new course, a new training, a new decision to kind of commit to, like buying a house, a new relationship, but whatever it is, I think there's a slight underestimate in terms of how much time it might end up sort of consuming for you. That's okay. It's not that you can't handle it. It's not that it's not the right decision. However, what we're saying is have a little bit of contingency or try to create a little bit more space than you think you're going to need. Now, you can do it. You're already doing it in some regard, and you will continue to show up for yourself. So I feel really positive about the outcome of this. But what we're looking at here is that there are so many things as part of this process that you need to understand and learn that you don't currently know. And just that in and of itself is like quite taxing on your mind. I just feel like I've got you consuming a lot of information or having to pore over a lot of things. And it just feels that you're going to wish you'd sort of started a bit sooner or just given yourself a little bit more space in order to do something. Okay, so keep that in mind. But we've got these amazing downloads coming here as this crown chakra is fully activated, but his finger is on his heart. And we have to come from the heart. If you're going to find a sense of consistency to this commitment, then it absolutely is going to have to be rooted in something that you really want to do or that feels good to you. If there's any kind of sense of you feeling half-hearted with something, I think that even before the month is out, you'll have abandoned it. And not that, again, there's anything wrong with that, because it might just be enough of the experience that you needed. But I think there's a part of you that is looking for something that feels more rooted and gives you a sense of deeper commitment or investment into something. Okay, now the Hierophant also talks to us about Taurus energy, which might be relevant by way of particular people that are showing up. But again, we're still working with a lot of Taurus, especially with Mercury in the first part of the month, as well as we kind of shift out of that retrograde, and we still have a bit of shadow going on there as well. What I also want to say to you is that, you know, there's a rejection, I think, on your part, Sagittarius, of sort of how something was done previously. I think you're going to be the one to come in and just say, okay, like, I'm not doing it this way anymore. It doesn't work for me. And I think a lot of people are already in agreement with you. I just think that for whatever reason, they've not felt able to raise it or to be able to present it. But you might be the spokesperson in some regard. So don't be afraid if you have an alternative solution. It might not be perfect either, but it's certainly going to be an improvement on the rigidity of something that felt really outdated, and that everybody feels like they've been like laboriously sort of having to endure or to sign up to or to go through, and it just doesn't make sense anymore. It doesn't make sense in this new approach, the way that things are unfolding, okay? That again might be something to do with this energy around the full moon, where you just decide to really sort of draw a line and you stop doing something. Again, this is highlighting the need to actually tell people how you feel. There's also an energy this month, I think, of us dealing with what it is that we are grieving. There we go, Four of Swords. What could have been. It's the grief of what could have been. You know, sometimes the loss of someone that is still with us can be so complex, so tricky, such a delicate path to navigate. Sometimes the healing that's required from a situation is even more painful than actually what the initial thing was that hurt us, you know, because often it's what is used from a soul perspective to kind of crack us open and to go deeper into ourselves, to unearth and sort of peel back more layers. But there's something here that's very introspective, very quiet, very still, very meditative, because you need time to be able to work through a complex set of emotions. You also just genuinely actually need a bit of a break. And I think that there's either someone or something that you've been involved in, connected to, that has a little bit sort of bled you dry. And it's a time in June that you're supposed to give the chance for yourself to be able to kind of restore and recharge. If you don't do this, I feel like you're set to kind of build up quite a bit of resentment, and then it ends up getting a bit misplaced, so it could end up being fired in the wrong direction towards the wrong people. So it's really important, regardless of like how much time you can take, even if it's a day or a few days, or even if there's just something that you're committed to that you can give yourself a bit of a break from and just say, okay, I'm maybe not going to go for the next week or two, just to let myself kind of have some peace and really sort of do some processing around this. I think that's going to be very, very beneficial for you, okay? But there's something here that feels unresolved by way of grief energy that's very complex. And I do think that there's going to be something new that's shed. There's like new light shed on something for you by your higher self and your guides that is going to help you to kind of find a spiritual key in a way to unlock something, maybe as to why it felt so triggering for you. We have the energy of strength coming through, which I love. I think that this is such an empowering energy to work with, because it moves you out of any situation where you may have felt like disempowered or like the victim, or been made to feel a certain way, discredited or disregarded. And it just kind of sees you taking your own sense of power back, reclaiming your energy, your centeredness, and having some courage and conviction to actually kind of take a stand and to do what you need to do. But we do have to dig deep in those moments, and again, that can be like super uncomfortable. Self-approval feels really important in relation to this. Now, she's holding the snake at bay here, which means that there's an element of us understanding, like we know where the source of the pain or who, you know, is impacting us in this way, and we have a handle on it in some regard. But at the same time, you know, the snake is such an important energy for transformation and healing and shedding of that new skin. And when we hold so tightly, we're almost blocking and resisting our own growth. Because sometimes to go through those feelings, to really face them and endure the experience, is the very thing that's going to give us the liberation, the freedom, and the courage and the confidence that we're going to need down the line. So, you know, make sure that you're not sort of blocking yourself off from those experiences by going into too much of an emotionally avoidant situation. Like, you absolutely have what you need to be able to face not only some of your own fears, but some of those more difficult, challenging conversations with others this month. And I think that can be incredibly progressive and healing for you. Absolutely. Okay, we have this month the beautiful solstice energy coming through. Now it's going to come in on the 21st of the month as the sun shifts into Cancer. Venus will trine Pluto that day, and it's a beautiful time to align with these natural rhythms and cycles of the earth. Such important times, the solstice and equinox, for us to work with and recalibrate our own energy. You have the energy of the Emperor coming through here, which I love, because again, it's about just regaining a sense of power and command and control in your own life. And, you know, I think it sees you in a position of feeling much more secure in who you are. And again, that state of like being able to give self-approval to yourself, it's achieved through that really profound state of presence. But also as you look back and you draw conclusions from all of the experiences that you've had, how you've been able to navigate, how resilient you've been, how you're still here, the way in which it's shaped, and you know, you maybe have some of those battle scars, but here we are, like in a state of kind of absolute certainty and trust about what we need to do next. Now we have the two horses here, almost indicating that dualistic nature of the Gemini season, especially that sort of sense of polarity that's being played out for you in that 7th house. And often it's the disowned parts of ourselves that get mirrored back in the key relationships that show up during these seasons to challenge and trigger us in deeper ways. But what we're addressing here is you kind of really coming back into a state of understanding yourself and sort of taking accountability and control, and actually leading to some really wise decisions. I see you being incredibly discerning. Now we have both the Hierophant, the Emperor, and the King of Swords here. So there's also, by way of sort of outside influence and opinions and opportunities to connect with people, some pretty significant influential energies that are showing up around you this month. And even if you're not having direct conversations, I think your paths are still crossing with some really interesting people that can definitely support you, or you can learn, be inspired, or observe and witness kind of how they're handling or what's playing out for them. And there's something that, you know, you need to take from that I can see can be super helpful. You need to be following the signs this month, and any detours, I promise you, are going to lead to absolute diamonds, is what they're telling me. But make sure during that solstice, when the sun shifts into Cancer, and we're going to be moving into 8th house energy for you, which is, you know, diving a little bit deeper and really connecting into those subconscious parts. It really illuminates the way in which you're working esoterically as well, and how you're using your intuition, your gifts. And there's a big focus around how we're merging and bonding with other people, especially in connection to resources and money and finances. So, you know, we want to be really making sure that our motives and our agenda is truly aligned with what we want and where we want to get to. It's okay to acknowledge that we all have our own personal agenda. So anytime we come into an energy exchange, you know, the more upfront and honest you can be this month about what it is that you're trying to achieve, where you're heading, what you're looking for from this, the better it will serve you and the more secure you're going to feel. And even if that means that you then very quickly have to move on because you realize you're speaking a different language, you're on a completely different page from somebody, then it's just better because you're not going to waste any time. And I think you'll be thankful for that down the line. So Venus is going to then shift into Cancer on the 22nd of the month, bringing in a little bit more flirtatious energy. And with that, we have some inspiration coming through the Ace of Wands. And I feel like your inner fire is getting stoked a little bit here. And it's, you know, I think often to do with the opportunity that you give yourself to actually have that respite. Because with all that fresh energy coming in with these two aces, we need to make space for it. We need to feel we can take it on because they have an important message for you. The aces are showing up because there's a new beginning happening here. Something new wants to come into your life. Like, are you able to see it? Are you in a position where you can say yes to it? Or are you so overloaded and overburdened with other things going on that you're just going to miss it? I don't want that for you. Again, we have this fire energy and right next to the Emperor. And for those of you from a relationship perspective, Emperor showing up for me feels kind of significant because I've got somebody who's kind of really bringing some stability and some energy of like commitment and readiness. So I want to say, for those of you seeking emotionally available people, this feels like a really good month for you to start exploring that and releasing something on your part that's kind of stopped you from being able to draw those type of people towards you as well. So big shifts and changes in regards to like closer personal relationships as well. So we have the new moon coming in Cancer on the 28th, same day that Neptune goes retrograde. So that's going to be a super sensitive time. And I think it will be important that you give yourself like lots of extra kind of nurturing and soul soothing to just handle some of the more, I think, tricky, I don't know, there feels like something a bit tricky that's coming in around that time of the month. Now the Ten of Pentacles suggests it could be connected into a family dynamic, a family situation here, okay? And I think that there's a lot more, it feels a little overwhelming actually. It might just be that there's so much is sort of coming to light that maybe you already had an inkling or an understanding of, but now it's just sort of tumbling out, you know, because I feel like even that energy of Gemini season has sort of forced people to start talking, and it's like it's information's getting back to you is sort of like what I'm picking up here. So we just need to make sure that we are a little bit more protective of our energy, and that we're helping ourselves to be able to balance things out, and also we're not taking things too personally. But at the same time, we have this increased feeling of stability and security coming in as well through your reading, which is really important. So I think if you have been struggling around issues of scarcity, or feeling a bit displaced or disillusioned with certain aspects of things, as long as you are unplugged from that main fear narrative in the collective consciousness, and you are absolutely not buying into that, but you are in your own path, then I do think that there are lots of things that are going to be coming in through the month of June that are supposed to be helping you to realize for yourself, actually, do you know what? Beneath all of this frenzy and chaos and surface swell, I actually feel calmer than I have for a long time. I actually feel more like me. I actually feel the essence of like my true self starting to emerge. And it's probably the recognition of a big clear out that's happened as well. You know, I think the last few months you've probably had a lot of shifts and changes in your relationships. And that's probably been quite tough for you, and quite triggering, as you realize that people you thought were going to be a big part of your life are no longer in your pathway at all, and then new people are coming in, but there's still a little bit of vulnerability or a building of trust that's coming. But there's also grand plans and new visions that are starting to come through and feeling like they're getting more traction for you. And I need you to kind of like hold on to that, because that energy is only set to amplify. And this is a month where with that full moon, you're meant to let go of something so that you can really like take this on in a much bigger way as we then work over the next 6 months to come back into your new moon cycle. Okay, so let's have a look and see how the Oracle card wants to join this conversation. Dry desert. Okay, I mean, it feels like you've probably been on a journey where there's been a real sense of scarcity or drought, but we have the greenness of the cactus here kind of emerging in the distance. We also have this bird that's able to see the bigger picture. And, you know, there's footprints in the sand here. So there's a recognition of sort of how far you've come. And she almost looks in quite a euphoric state as she realizes that she's about to come into like a shift and a change in the cycle. This is where solstice is really going to indicate that actually whatever we've endured that has felt like really intense, we're about to come out the other side of that. And I think you'll see that very powerfully through this month, and feel you yourself have really turned a corner with something. And that's going to make a big difference to the way that you start to think about what is possible for yourself. Okay, let's have a look at your astrology cards. Okay, you have the 4th house connected into home. Of course, Cancer rules the 4th house. So Cancer season is really inviting us to tend to that part of ourselves, those inner roots, how we are inner parenting ourselves. And there's that nourishment. We also have a strong father archetypal energy coming in the divine masculine with the Emperor. So there might be a little bit of work for you to do or to be aware of in and around that. But it's also about those sacred spaces that are going to make you feel like you have time to be able to process, to take some time out to rest, recharge, rejuvenate. And I think you'll probably have that desire to want to really explore your roots. You know, you might be going back in time, doing some past life regression, looking at Akashic records, asking more in terms of the family and where things have come from, especially if more information has come to light. It's all going to help you to kind of resolve something that feels that it's never quite sort of felt in place, and being able to give you a sense of inner peace. But there's new information coming in that I think is going to be really supportive in that way for you. So Sagittarius, I just wanted to give you like a quick preview of my new deck, Life Soul Vision Oracle. It's coming out at the end of July and it's available for pre-order now. Thank you for those of you who've already invested. You can find the link in the description box underneath, and you will be able to see a full preview of the deck over on my website. It's a really comprehensive guidebook where I go into the card description, We talk about the meaning. We're going to give you some information of in the light and in the shadow, as well as a soul affirmation as well. So if you're interested and you like the look of it, then please go check out some more details. Okay, so this is the general reading for the month of June. I'm just going to invite you to think about a personal question that might not have come up in the main reading, Sagittarius. We'll go ahead and pull a couple of cards for you just now. If you are new to the channel, you can find the link for this in the description and the comment section underneath. It's a way to get another 25 minutes or so of a reading, deeper insight into the month ahead, and also support me so that I can continue to show up with the free readings every month. So thank you if it resonates with you. So King of Swords, we are clarifying with the Queen of Wands, Nine of Pentacles. Oh, we have another Emperor coming in here. Also links into cardinal energy, Aries, Capricorn, especially Libra possibly. Ten of Wands. This is the Knight of Cups. Seven of Cups. The Hierophant's coming through with the Hermit and the Five of Wands. We have the Five of Pentacles here. Chariot. I'm just going to pull a couple more there. King of Cups. The Star. Beautiful. Ace of Cups. All the decks that I use are in the comment in the description box underneath as well, okay? Ace of Wands. We have the Five of Cups. Six of Cups. Death. Oh, nice. Ten of Cups coming in there. Six of Pentacles. Wheel of Fortune. And another ace. Ace of Swords. A lot of aces this month. Okay, Sagittarius, going to leave it there. If you're joining me for the extended, I look forward to continuing this conversation. Have a fantastic June. Enjoy that beautiful full moon.